Evening, guys. Hello. I hope everyone is well. Welcome to, where are we, session 5 of the Ayurvedic Self-Care Challenge. I hope everyone is well. I hope everyone's had a lovely day and everyone's feeling fit, healthy, strong and happy. Can't believe it's it's not the final live session, because we actually have some bonus sessions next week, which on really important topics that we couldn't quite shoehorn into these core selection of practices. So it's not actually it's not the last day. It's not the last live session. We do have a couple of bonus sessions that will go into next week, and we'll let you know about those. But a massive thank you before I dive in about all of the posts around your morning routine. The Facebook page gives us all the data, and we had more comments, posts, questions around the morning routine and kind of contemplation than anything else thus far, around you guys meditating, journaling, getting up earlier, watching the sunrise, listening to the birds. Some just phenomenal messages. So it takes a lot of effort. To get up earlier and do this. So a massive, a huge kudos for everyone here for showing up and committing and doing it. So I hope everyone is feeling good and well on it. So massive well done. Before I dive in, if everyone could just give me, as always, a flurry of emojis, smiley faces, thumbs up, just to get this to the top of the feed so that everyone can find it. It makes a huge difference. And also lots of questions around the herbal medicines and particularly foraging. Okay, so one of the I'm still trying to work out. Okay, obviously we can only do a few bonus sessions. We can't do like another 5. So I'm going to try and work out what we're going to do. But I'm going to try and do either a live session or share with you a pre-recorded session on some of the foraging kind of herbal medicine that is so relevant now, because it's just a no-brainer to be making the most of this. Okay, so some really exciting bonus sessions coming out. Okay, and also a big thank you for all the general engagement on the Facebook page. So tonight, really key topic, because we're talking about something that underpins everything else we've spoken about this week, which is sleep and the melatonin curve. Okay, because obviously if we're getting up earlier and we're getting up to work with the circadian rhythm, getting up earlier to use the morning routine, all these things, we have to be sleeping well. Because if we're getting up earlier and doing more and sleeping badly, it's all going to deteriorate really quickly. So in Ayurveda, sleep is a sacred practice, and we're going to talk about why. But before I get into that, I just want to take 5 minutes just to talk about something based upon your comments, okay? Because I've had loads of questions around, how do we kind of continue the momentum of this week? How do we continue the journey into Ayurveda? And I just wanted to briefly talk about the Ayurvedic mentor, because I know I've been mentioning it quite a lot over the last week around the resources, and I had a lot of questions around what the Ayurvedic mentor is. So I just want to briefly touch on that for a few minutes, okay, to answer all the questions. So the Ayurvedic mentor is my membership platform. It's the biggest part of my working life now. It's where my kind of biggest passion for my work is, because it allows me to help the most number of people in the most effective way. Okay, and when we were creating the Ayurvedic mentor, ultimately we created it as a solution to the problem or the question of how do I live my healthiest, happiest, most purposeful life. They're the things we all desire. Great health, great levels of happiness and contentment, feeling like we're making a difference and living a long life. Okay, the Ayurvedic mentor was my way of consolidating the last 20 years of research and practice into one platform that empowers people to do that. Okay, so when I think of, so essentially the Ayurvedic mentor is like a much hugely bigger version of this week, in that it's an ongoing platform, ongoing, that's very kind of you, Sheila, an ongoing resource for empowering you to live Ayurvedically, empowering you to use herbal medicines, to eat properly, to be the best version of yourself. And when I describe it to people, I essentially say it's a Netflix for health, okay? Because it's, we started it about 5 years ago, and it's just grown into this massive resource. It's the biggest resource and library of Ayurveda probably anywhere in the world now, and it's essentially a one-stop shop for all of the things that we've kind of covered in this week, but in a more detailed way. So it's health promotion. It's what can we do to be healthier, and how do I actually do it, and what's the support for it? Longevity. How do we embed practices that are going to allow us to live healthier for longer? How do we, personal development is a really big part of the mentor. How do we develop ourselves, our mindset, our attitudes, our way of life, so that we're living our brightest, happiest, most positive, meaningful life? It's got a huge emphasis on, on longevity, a huge emphasis on, support. A really big part of the mentor is it has a private Facebook group like this one, okay, just more intimate, okay, and that's crucial because it allows peer support from the cohort, the community, but it also gives you access to Holly and me for questions, around your health or your diet or herbal medicines. I want to use hawthorn berry, how do I use it? Well, all the resources are there. I want to lose weight, what do I do? Okay, so it allows for that access and that professional advice. So being a member of the Ayurvedic Mentor, in terms of what it gives you, it's hard to summarize it in many ways, but it's the library of resources and content on the Mentor is mind-boggling now. Okay, I know there's lots of people here who are in the Mentor, and you'll be able to give a taste of that and maybe talk about what a great place it is to hang out in. So just a snapshot. So there are dozens and dozens of 6 to 10 week series. So we've got series on kitchen herbal medicine, on Alzheimer's prevention, on Ayurveda for life, on introduction to the doshas, on Yoga Veda, on Ayurvedic facelift, on herbal. There's just so much there. Okay, so there's a huge library of pre-existing courses and training which you get access to. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of content there. There's a really big emphasis on herbal medicines. So very detailed herbal profiles, hundreds of herbal recipes and remedies and foraging guides. If you've enjoyed the food this week, there's hundreds of recipes: breakfasts, meals, dinners, drinks, tonics, herbal tonics. We have every week we have a great session called Weekly Wisdom. So we come together every Wednesday for a live session. We all get together and we talk about a hugely eclectic array of topics. So we had one yesterday which was on the healthiest breath. Okay, so breathing for 5.5 seconds is the healthiest breathing rate. So we looked at the research. We get together once a week for a live session. They're all recorded, so you can catch up, and we've done that every week for the last 5 years. So there's a massive resource of recorded weekly wisdoms. There's foraging guides, there's meal plans. Like I say, I think the biggest part is the community. It gives you that ability to be part of. We know that committing to health behaviors is way easier if you're part of a community. Okay, and being part of that Facebook community, it's inspiring, it's uplifting, it's motivating. Okay, it's a great place to hang out. So a fundamental part of the Mentor is our flagship course, our signature course, which is called Ayurveda for Life. Okay, and that very much stands on the shoulders of this week. So if you're looking to learn more about Ayurveda, yes, you might want to get healthier, you might want to live longer, you might want to feel happier and more contented. But if you actually want to learn more about Ayurveda, actually the fundamentals of Ayurveda, the Ayurveda for Life is a 10-part series that dives deeply into all of the fundamentals of Ayurveda, the doshas, detoxification, diet, lifestyle, nutrition, digestive capacity, herbs, all of it. Okay, so it's a full immersion into all things Ayurveda. We release new courses every year. The next course starts 2 weeks' time. It's going to be called Ayurveda for Autumn and Winter, which is going to be a series about how we modify our diet, our practices, our herbal medicines, our self-care practices to stay really fit and healthy through autumn and winter months. So that's going to be a 5-part series. And then we're going to do, so we've got the Alzheimer's prevention plan, where we're going to release a cancer prevention plan and a heart disease prevention plan. And the next one is going to be the cancer prevention plan, which is an evidence-based overview of what we can do in our daily lives to help reduce the risk of cancers. Okay, so it's too much to summarize quickly. I want to be quick because I want to get onto the sleep. But ultimately, the mentor is a solution to the question of how do I live, how do I become the healthiest, happiest, most purposeful person I can be. And the mentor is a platform for facilitating that with evidence-based practices, with Ayurvedic practices, with support, with inspiration, with motivation. Okay, it's the biggest passion of my working life. It's what I'm most proud of. The people there I love, they've become friends. So you can access everything in the Ayurvedic Mentor for £24.99 a month. Okay, there's no contract, there's no lock-in period. You could stay for 1 month. We've had people there from the beginning who've been there for 5 years. So there's no risk. Okay, you can check it out, see if it's for you, and you can leave whenever you want. Okay, so £24.99 a month. £24.99 a month is very I think is a really great price point for what we're offering and what we're trying to achieve. We do cap numbers. Because we don't allow more than a set number because it will make it too diluted. We want to be able to offer intimate advice and support, and we do stay a kind of quite a small community. So we've only got places for 40 people. Okay, we've got spaces for 40 new members. So if you're looking to so Julia, is there a course or info for those who have had cancer? We have something called the Anti-Cancer Club, which is, we've got loads of recordings in there. We have sessions every month around cancer prevention, cancer foods and herbs and things like that. Okay, so that's all on there, big library and existing sessions as well. Okay, so the doors are open now. They close again next Thursday. So the doors are open for 1 week. They close at midnight next Thursday. We've got space for 40 new members. So if you're looking to continue your journey into Ayurveda, if you feel inspired by this week, if you feel like now is the time to really move into living your healthiest, happiest life, it will be an absolute pleasure to welcome you into the Mentor, to get to know you better, to continue the journey with you. I'd love to see you there. Hopefully those of you who are in the Mentor already can say what a great place it is to hang out. It's such an amazing community of people. There's so many resources, and I'd love to see you there. So all the information's available on the website if you want to find more and join up. I know lots of people have joined up this week already because I've been speaking about it, but if you do want to get one of the last places, then head over to the website and check it out. Right, with that said and done, let's move on to tonight's session, which is sacred sleep. Okay, and it's almost impossible to articulate kind of the significance of sleep as a health practice. And I'm sure everyone here has gone through a period of sleeping badly, and you know how impactful that is. Okay, and in Ayurveda, there's something called the triangle of survival. Okay, website details. Once I finish the live, I'll share a link to the Mentor on the Facebook page. Okay, so I'll share a link, but if you head over to the website, you will find all the information there. Okay, so Ayurveda has something called the triangle of survival, which is food and drink, sex and sleep. Okay, because if we don't eat and drink, we die. If we don't procreate, our species dies, and if we don't sleep, we die. So Ayurveda places sleep on the same level of importance as procreation and food and drink. Okay, eating and for survival. And because of that, Ayurveda has crafted an amazing framework for cultivating what it calls blissful sleep. And I love that term. Okay, it doesn't talk about good sleep or average sleep or 7.5 hours sleep. It talks about blissful sleep, and it defines that as waking up in the morning feeling rejuvenated and energized. And that's something that I remember learning decades ago and thinking, that is what I want. Waking up in the morning, actually waking up in the morning and not having to kind of drag yourself out of bed, but waking up, with an abundance of energy after a blissful night's sleep in terms of the quality of your sleep and also the quantity of it. And Ayurveda has whole treatises on the importance of sleep, but what I love is the way that the Western clinical evidence corroborates that importance. Has anyone here read the book Why We Sleep by, what's his name? I forgot his name, sorry. I'm sure someone here has read it, Why We Sleep. If you haven't read it, read it. Okay, it talks about the science of why sleep is so important. And over the last 10 years, the research into sleep and health has exploded. Okay, and if you look at that research, it now shows that alongside our exercise behaviors, our stress levels, and our Matthew Walker, thank you, Stephanie. So alongside our exercise behaviors, our stress levels, and our nutrition, the quality of our sleep is one of the most predictive variables of our health status, how healthy we are, how long we live for, the diseases we get, and when we're going to die. Okay, they're independent predictors of all four of those. So our sleep is a predictor of how healthy we are, how long we live, what diseases we get, and when we get them. Okay, and we can, if we then look at what actually happens when we sleep. Okay, there are things that happen in the body that only happen when we are sleeping. Okay, and those things are so significant. So whenever we go to sleep at night, we get a cardiovascular reset. Okay, so our blood pressure, our heart rate goes into complete entrainment. So it's almost like we're hibernating. We get a complete reset. Takes all the pressure off the vascular system and off the brain. Okay, our immune system, we have daytime immunity and nighttime immunity. Our immune system at night is the immune activity that's most important for identifying precancerous cells and cancerous cells, identifying those and destroying them. It identifies nascent bacteria and virus cells, so therefore that's why sleep is so linked to infection prevalence. One of the things we're going to talk about actually in the Ayurveda for Autumn series in the Ayurvedic Mentor is the link between sleep, immunity, and infections, because we know that people who maintain good sleep through autumn and winter have less infections because of the immune response. Another fundamental thing, and this is one of the reasons that made me include sleep in this session, in this week. Okay, it comes down to neurodegenerative diseases, because Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, motor neurons are all increasing exponentially. Okay, heart disease is the world's biggest killer, but by the next couple of years, all the data suggests that actually Alzheimer's is going to become our biggest killer. Heart disease is quite easy to manage. Alzheimer's and Parkinson's are virtually impossible to manage, or very hard to manage. So we all need to be doing things on a daily basis to support brain health and prevent the risks of these kinds of neurodegenerative diseases. And how is this for a statistic? You may have heard it. Those of you in the Mentor would have heard it a lot, because obviously we've got the entire Alzheimer's prevention plan. But in our brain, we have something called the sagittal sinus, which is a kind of a lymphatic tissue that runs across the top of the brain, like on the mohawk, okay? And that is the only way the brain can remove toxins from within the brain itself. The brain has loads of toxins. Those toxins are all one of the primary mechanisms of things like Alzheimer's development, Parkinson's, motor neurons, dementia. Okay, the sagittal sinus is responsible for removing that, but it can only do it when we are asleep. And over the course of every 12 months, our brain, our sagittal sinus, removes 7 pounds of neural toxins from our brain. That's the size of a newborn baby. Think about a newborn baby. It's still quite big. That's the volume of microscopic debris that is removed from our brain. It only happens when we sleep. Okay, so in terms of maintaining neural function, cognitive function, memory, positivity, mood, mindset, all of these things, it all comes down to sleep. Things like energy levels, fatigue levels, vitality levels, enthusiasm levels, all of those are dependent upon good quality sleep. Think about our hormone balances, menstrual problems, PMS, the male menopause, the female menopause. Sleep, good sleep, it kind of mitigates a lot of that. Bad sleep aggravates it. Think about inflammation, think about mood, think about depression, think about all of this. Everything we want in our body and want in our life, health, happiness, well-being, energy, is optimized by good sleep. And everything we don't want, disease, frailty, reduced lifespan, low energy, low mood, depression, is aggravated by poor sleep. Okay, it's impossible to do justice to the significance of this, which is why I flagged up that book by Matthew Walker, because it summarizes this beautifully. So we have to, and all of the techniques we've covered this week have been, as close to mandatory as you can get. And that's why we've chosen them to include in this week, because they're the most important ones. And this is right up there. Okay, so we have to be doing things to support good sleep. Okay, and the question is, how do we do that? And the ironic thing is we don't actually have to do anything to support good sleep. Okay, good sleep, or blissful sleep, optimal sleep, is actually our default setting. Okay, it's not a case of how do we facilitate blissful sleep. It's what's getting in the way of us experiencing that as our default setting. Okay, because sleep is our natural. No other mammal on the planet suffers with bad sleep. Only humans. And it's because we're doing things that affect it. So when we're looking to try and optimize our sleep, it's not about, there are things we're going to do, and we're going to look at some herbal tonics and some herbal baths in a minute. But the most important thing for optimizing sleep and inducing blissful sleep and harnessing all the things we've just spoken about is to take away the things that damage it, okay? And when we're talking about that, the most important thing is something called the melatonin curve. And when we look at, as a famous Ayurvedic herbal tonic called the nutmeg nighttime milk, okay, I'll talk about that in a minute, you'll get the recipe as well. That is based upon this, okay? So remember on Sunday, we spoke about the cortisol curve, how every morning we get a big shock of cortisol, and we want to go to bed as the cortisol is increasing. So we want to get up in the morning with cortisol, so we wake up with energy and vitality. The melatonin curve is the nighttime equivalent. So melatonin is the sleep hormone. Okay, it changes all of the chemistry of the brain to support sleep. And we have a melatonin curve. So our melatonin is low all day, and at about 7, 8-ish in the evening, our melatonin starts increasing. Okay, and it increases, and then it reaches the optimal level at about 10 p.m. Okay, sometimes even 10:30, but not really very later than that. Okay, so what we want to be doing is we want to be going to sleep in the same way we want to be getting up with cortisol. We want to be going to bed with melatonin. So we want to be in bed with lights out when our melatonin is at the absolutely highest level in our blood. Because when we're saturated with melatonin, that's what facilitates a move into blissful deep sleep, because our biochemistry, our hormone profiles are optimal. Okay, so the absolute first priority for cultivating blissful sleep is to go to bed at the right time. Okay, and for most people, most of the time, when is that? It's between 10 and 10:30 in the evening. Actually, usually the earlier, usually 10-ish. Okay, for most people, most of the time, 10 p.m. is the optimal time to go to sleep. It's when our melatonin levels are absolutely at their peak. Okay, and what happens if we miss that peak? And I'm sure everyone here has experienced that. It's the classical second wind. Okay, say somebody gets to 11, most people will kind of get to 9:30, 10-ish. They feel really tired. They're on the sofa, kind of struggling to keep their eyes open, and they kind of push through. Then it gets to 10:30, quarter to 11, and suddenly we feel wide awake. Okay, why does that happen? Because what the body says is, evolutionary speaking, it's 11 o'clock at night. I should be asleep because I'm not nocturnal. I'm not asleep, so I'm going to assume there's a problem. I'm going to assume there's a stress or a danger because I should be asleep and I'm not. So what am I going to do? I'm going to release a little bit of cortisol into the blood so that if I've got to run or I've got to fight or I've got to think, I'm awake. So at about 11, we get a little shot of cortisol, and that gives us, it wakes us up and it gives us second wind. I'm sure everyone here has experienced second wind, where you have been really tired, then you wake up. That's because of a cortisol shot. And then if you don't go to bed and it gets to 11:30, then the body says, well, there's definitely something wrong because it's really late now and I'm still awake. So I'm going to dump a load of cortisol into the blood so I can fight, run, or think. And at that point, it's not impossible to get to sleep, but it's almost impossible to get a good night's sleep because you've got low melatonin and high cortisol. And it's like saying you're trying to run with no oxygen. You can't do it, okay? So the most important thing to facilitate blissful sleep that allows you to wake up early, to run your morning routine, and get up with your clock genes is to get good sleep. And the biggest thing that facilitates good sleep is going to bed with melatonin, okay? If you do that, if you modify your behavior, so you're kind of in bed, lights out, 10, 15-ish, and you're still finding your sleep quality or your sleep quantity isn't what it needs to be, the next thing to try is, one, remove blue light, okay? Because blue light, and this is a pandemic problem as well. You know, our phones, TVs aren't so bad because they're quite far away, aren't they? They're way back on the room. But if we're looking at phones, smartphones, iPads, they all emit blue light, okay? And blue light is now clinically proven to do what? Suppress melatonin. Okay, just 15 minutes of phone use after 9 p.m. can suppress melatonin to the point where it can't initiate proper sleep control. Okay, so going to bed at the right time is key, but also the public health data now is calling it a curfew. So trying to set a 9 p.m. curfew. After 9 p.m., you don't look at screens or iPads, only TVs, on the wall away from you, okay, or use a blue light filter on glasses, okay. The second thing to do is to remove any kind of stimulation, okay, because I talk about the 10 o'clock news. The 10 o'clock news is a public health disaster, okay, because I know so many people, we had our big full-time clinic, this was a constant problem. People 9 o'clock, 9:30, and it gets to 9:45 and they say, I'm just going to stay up and watch the news and then I'm going to go to bed. Okay, so our body is saying it's 10 o'clock, I should be asleep. And then what happens? We watch the news and we're watching bombs and we're watching famine and we're watching the elections and we're watching all the horrible things that are going on around in the world. The brain can't differentiate between what it sees and what it believes. So when it's seeing famine and war and danger and stress, we get this massive shot of cortisol through watching the 10 o'clock news. And at a point where we should be falling asleep, we're actually waking up. So, horror films, thrillers, the news, anything that's scary, stimulating, awakening is a disaster. Okay, we want to be using, we want the opposite. We want things that are calming and grounding and chill us out. Okay, so no blue light, no stimulatory TV, hitting the melatonin curve, okay? If you're doing those things and your sleep still isn't what it wants to be or needs to be, the next thing to do is then turn to sleep, natural sleep aids, okay, which offer profound efficacy. And there's two I want to talk about. The first one is something called the nutmeg nighttime milk, okay? And it is even if you sleep well, it's a beautiful drink to drink. It's a taste explosion. It's got loads of like chai latte herbs, but the key thing is the nutmeg, okay? Why? Because nutmeg contains and mobilizes very high levels of a neurotransmitter called GABA, G-A-B-A, okay? And what does GABA do? GABA works with melatonin to sedate the nervous system so we go to sleep more quickly. And in clinical trials, nutmeg has been proven to increase how quickly we get to sleep, the quality of our sleep, and how long we sleep for. Okay, and it's all because it changes the neurochemistry of the brain in favor of GABA and melatonin. Okay, obviously using it with milk. Okay, with the old wives' tale of milk helping sleep is actually true because the chemicals in milk have a sedating effect. Okay, and they work with melatonin. Okay. So that's my next point, Vicky. Great question. The nutmeg milk sounds lovely, but how does it work with the fasting? So it's a great question because so there's something called the hierarchy of needs. Okay, and sleep, they've researched this. Sleep is above the hierarchy of needs than fasting, because if you're fasting and sleeping badly, all of the mechanisms that fasting is trying to initiate will be suppressed by poor sleep. So if you're having bad sleep, the first thing is to get the sleep under control and then dial back on things like the nutmeg milk and then use the fasting. Okay, so sleep always is of higher trump point than fasting. Okay, so that's what we always advised in clinic. You have to kind of put the fasting on the shelf for a couple of weeks, get the sleep regulated, because the body learns. If you start using the nutmeg milk, going to bed on time, taking away the blue light stimulation, all of these kind of things, they're not treatment, they're curative. And that once the body normalizes the hormones, it will then become the default setting. Okay, you haven't got to use dairy milk, you can use nut milk. Almond milk is a great option. It tastes beautiful. Okay, so the nutmeg milk would be my first. I mean, there's herbs like valerian and there's herbs like Californian poppy. And we again in the mentor we've got all loads of something called ailment management plans, which are detailed plans for managing loads of common problems, and we talk about those herbs. But the nutmeg nighttime milk is my absolute first remedy for managing poor sleep. Always in myself, in my patients, in my family. If someone can't sleep, get to bed on time, work with melatonin, use nutmeg because it changes the neurochemistry. Once that's kind of been used, the next thing, and which is if bad sleep is really stubborn or really chronic, or you're feeling, it's actually your sleep's pretty good, but you're feeling a bit wired or you're feeling anxious or feeling really stressed, the next thing to try is medicated herbal baths. Okay, so you'll get all the instructions for making the nutmeg milk. They'll be posted up tomorrow. Okay, you'll get all the instructions for making a herbal bath. Okay, but I just want to briefly talk about how herbal baths work, because in Ayurvedic medicine, herbal baths are a mainstay of treatment. Okay, why? Carol, I'm so sorry to hear about your sister-in-law diagnosed with stage 4 bowel cancer. If I can help in any way, please let me know. We've got a great document called What to Do Upon Cancer Diagnosis, and it's got loads of resources on what books to read and what things to do. Okay, so we can share that if you want that. So medicated baths are one of the most powerful ways of using herbs. Okay, why? Because it presses into service something called transdermal therapy, okay, which is what we spoke about when we looked at the self-massage. Yeah, think about how morphine patches, HRT patches, nicotine patches, how do they work? You put a medicated compound on the skin, the chemicals move through the skin into the blood and then spread through the whole body. Okay, so that's called transdermal therapy. Ayurveda has pressed that into service for thousands of years. And you think about your skin, the skin is the biggest organ in the body. Okay, if you're sat in a bath up to your neck and 90% of your body is in water that is saturated with herbal compounds, and those herbal compounds are clinically proven to sedate and induce sleep, you can absorb into your body a higher volume of sleep promoting chemicals through a herbal bath than you could ever consume orally through herbs or drinks or tinctures or capsules. Okay, it's the most powerful way of using herbs in terms of actually the volume of constituent parts you absorb transdermally through the skin. Okay, if you sit in a bath for kind of 15-20 minutes in the evening, one, it's very relaxing. You know, you can use candles or relaxing music. You know, bath is inherently relaxing. But if you add a herbal blend into the bath, it's game changing. Every time I've had sleep that, you know, for a variety of reasons that went out of kilter, the difference between a good outcome and completely getting back on track was the evening use of herbal baths. It's clinically proven, it's safe, it's profoundly effective. Okay, but you don't actually add the herbs into the bath. Okay, so herbs like chamomile, herbs like passion flower, herbs like lemon balm, herbs like linden flowers, herbs like rosemary, herbs like lavender, okay, are all nervous system sedatives that all have clinical evidence to show they support sleep. But you don't actually add them to the bath. You make, I won't go through the details because I'll give you the document, but essentially you make a pint, you add the herbs into a bowl, you pour over a pint of boiling water, and you essentially have a pint of really super duper strong herbal tea, and you leave that for an hour or so, or ideally all day. Make it in the morning, leave it all day so it macerates and it infuses for hours, super strong, way stronger than you could ever drink. Then you strain the herbs out and you pour the liquid, the pint of cold herbal liquid, into the hot bath, and then you mix it up. Okay, so that it's evenly dispersed, and then you sit in that bath for 15-20 minutes. Okay, I can hand on heart say that over the last 15 years of clinical practice, sleep dysfunction has been one of the most common problems, and I can genuinely say, not cured, but I have never seen a combination of hitting the melatonin curve, getting to bed at the right time, using nutmeg, and or particularly using herbal baths, not induce an improvement in sleep to a point where the person says, it's not perfect, but it's good enough. Okay, if this is what it's like for the rest of my life, I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, because you know, if you could do all of it, you could do all of those things. You could have a herbal bath. You might do a self-massage after the bath to calm us down even more. You might do maybe 5 minutes of meditation. That's proven to support sleep. You might have your nutmeg milk, then you might, you know, get into a nice, you know, comfy bed at 10:30, really zoned out, lights off at 10. Okay, because then if you're asleep by 10 or 10:30, you get up at somewhere between 5 and 6, then you're even though you're getting up earlier, you're still getting your kind of 7+ hours sleep. Okay, Mary, you tried the lavender infusion bath. It was blissful. Yeah, yeah. So so Sophie, medicated herbal baths are, I don't understand why, because in Western herbalism they aren't as popular, but in Ayurvedic they're massive. So you can use herbal baths for everything, for Crohn's disease, for cancer, for high blood pressure, but for pain it particularly excels because obviously the hot water is pain relieving in and of itself. Okay, so for pain conditions, neuralgia, fibromyalgia, sports injuries, polymyalgia, herbal baths using pain-killing herbs like Californian poppy, passion flower, valerian, works absolute wonders. Okay, so it's not just for sleep. You can, herbal baths are brilliant for stress, anxiety. If you're feeling overwhelmed, wound up, they're just such a brilliant treatment. Okay, so if your sleep is not optimal, that would be the hierarchy of treatment. Okay, hit the melatonin curve, get to bed on the right time, work with your hormones, take away anything that's going to ruin that, blue light, stimulation, news, horror movies, use nutmeg to change the biochemistry of the brain, and then start exploring herbal baths. Okay, I know there's a lot of information there, but I'll upload all the instructions for all of that on the website, on the Facebook page tomorrow. Okay, but like I say, it's not the final session. We've got bonus sessions next week. Okay, as I said, those of you who joined late, doors to the Ayurvedic Mentor are now open. They're open for a week. We've got places for 40 people. So if you're looking for all things health promotion, if you're looking to really use this week as momentum and a springboard to living your healthiest, happiest, best life, then I would love to welcome you into the Mentor. I'd love to welcome you into the community. We've got lots of great events coming up between now and Christmas as well. So I'll post the link up on the Facebook page in a minute. You can find it on the website, so please do check it out. Any questions, let me know, but have a lovely, lovely evening, and I will see you all soon. Cheers, guys.